Introduction: The myth of eternal summer. You have been sold the sweetest, most cloying and lethal lie in the entire spiritual industry. They promised you that if you raised your vibration, your life would become a linear paradise without problems. They told you that once you mastered the law of assumption, you would never cry again. They told you that your bank account would rise in a straight line toward infinity, without a single stumble or delay. They convinced you that the awakened Creator lives in a state of perpetual euphoria, surrounded by an eternal summer where the leaves of the trees never dry up or fall to the ground. Wake up right now from that childish fantasy. That is the toxic positivity of cowards who are terrified of the darkness. It is the philosophy of the weak who cannot stand the pressure. The universe is not a straight line. The universe is a heartbeat. It is a deep and wild breath. It inhales and exhales. It expands and contracts. It creates majestic galaxies and then devours them in black holes. To deny chaos is to fight against the basic architecture of the matrix. It is an act of quantum stupidity. The law of rhythm is implacable and makes no exceptions for your fragile ego. Everything that goes up must come down. Everything must come down to gain momentum. Winter is not a design flaw. It is a biological and metaphysical necessity so that the earth rests before the next harvest. When the tide of your life goes out, when you lose a business, when a relationship fractures, the three-dimensional slave enters absolute panic. The slave cries on the dry beach. He believes the universe is punishing him. He believes he did his visualizations wrong. He abandons his crown, throws himself onto the sand, and surrenders to the illusion of loss. The sovereign creator does not do that. The adept knows the law of rhythm. When the tide recedes and leaves the ocean floor exposed, the adept smiles with a mathematical coldness. He knows that the water did not disappear. He knows that the ocean is simply pulling back to accumulate strength. It is forming a tsunami of epic proportions that will return to lift his ship. The sovereign uses the low tide to his advantage. He uses winter and chaos to reinforce the hull of his ship, sharpen his manifestation weapons, and purge his environment of mediocre and cowardly actors. This book is your titanium anchor. It is your survival and mastery manual for when the sky darkens. It is for when the hurricane winds of life threaten to tear down the walls of your empire. You are going to learn to stand in the geometric center of the hurricane. You are going to discover how to surf the inevitable crises without your emotional center of gravity moving a single millimeter. Prepare your mind for the storm, because I am not going to teach you to flee from chaos. I am going to teach you to look it in the eye, tame it, and use its brutal energy to catapult yourself toward your next victory. Linear security is an illusion for the dead. The creative life demands that you embrace destruction. You must embrace it with the same fierce passion with which you embrace abundance. The pendulum has already begun to move. Take a deep breath. Let go of your addiction to comfort. Accept the wild rhythm of creation. You are about to become the absolute master of your own winters. Chapter 1: The Relentless Pendulum. Anatomy of rhythm and the physics of destruction. You have been programmed with one of the most toxic and unrealistic expectations in human history. You have been made to blindly believe in the myth of linear growth. Since childhood, society, school, and the capitalist system injected a sickly idea into you, success must be a straight ascending line that never stops. They told you that your bank account should grow every month, that your romantic relationship should be happier every day, that your health and energy should always be at 100%. They sold you the fantasy of eternal summer, a life where the sun never sets, where flowers never wither, and where the night does not exist. What nonsense! That linear expectation is the exact cause of your chronic suffering. It is the reason why you collapse psychologically before the first obstacle that life puts in front of you. When things go well, you feel like a god. But when the graph of your life takes a dip, When your income drops or your relationship cools, you enter absolute panic. You believe you have failed. You believe the universe is punishing you. You believe your ability to manifest has broken. And in your desperation, you make stupid decisions that make everything worse. Welcome to quantum reality. You have to rip the idea of the straight line out of your brain today. The universe works in waves, not lines. The breath of the cosmos. Thousands of years ago, the Hermetic sages of ancient Egypt wrote down one of the 7 unbreakable universal laws. It is the principle of rhythm. The Kybalion states it with a poetic and terrifying coldness. Everything flows and reflows. Everything has its periods of advance and retreat. Everything rises and falls. Everything moves like a pendulum. The measure of its movement to the right is the same as the measure of its movement to the left. Rhythm is compensation. Read that 1,000 times if necessary. Tattoo it on your brain. The entire universe, from the largest galaxy to the smallest atom in your body, breathes. It inhales and exhales. It expands and contracts. The ocean has high tide and low tide. The year has summer and winter. Your heart has systole and diastole. Everything beats. Everything vibrates. If your heart tried to pump blood in a constant straight line without stopping to relax to refill, it would explode in seconds. You would die. Why on earth do you think the energy of your financial, emotional, or spiritual life should function differently than the biology of your own heart or the physics of the stars? The anatomy of the pendulum. Imagine a giant pendulum. When you apply the law of assumption, when you assume your greatness and turn on the engine of emotion, you push the pendulum forcefully to the right. That is the movement of success. You earn money. You meet the love of your life. You close the deal. Your health improves. You are at the top of the arc. But Hermetic physics is relentless. The pendulum cannot stay suspended in the air forever. Quantum gravity demands that it return. Inertia has to be compensated. And then the pendulum begins its journey back to the left. Your business sales suddenly drop. Your partner becomes distant. A huge project is cancelled without reason. That is where the metaphysics novice loses their mind. The 3D slave screams, "Something is wrong. The universe hates me. I have an energy block. Someone put a curse on me." No one cursed you, you ignorant fool. It is simply the pendulum doing its damn job. It is the cosmic winter sweeping the dead leaves off your tree. The illusion of divine punishment. You must forever banish the religious idea of punishment. Infinite intelligence has no ego. It is not offended. It does not have a notebook where it writes down your sins to take revenge later. When a crisis hits your life, it is not a punishment for having a negative thought on a Tuesday afternoon. It is not karma collecting a debt. Chaos is a mathematical cleaning mechanism. It is the universe making space on your hard drive to download the next version of your empire, which will be much heavier and brighter. If you ask to build a skyscraper, the universe must send the excavators to destroy your old house. That demolition will look and feel like an absolute crisis. Dust will cloud your vision. The noise of destruction will stun your ears. You will feel like you're being left on the street. But destruction is not a punishment. It is basic engineering. The problem is that you get attached to the rubble. You cling to the broken bricks of your old life and cry for them, instead of thanking the excavators. The physics of financial loss. Let's apply this to money, which is where the ego suffers its greatest heart attacks. You have manifested a large sum of money. You are at the financial peak, and suddenly, disaster strikes. An investment goes wrong. A major client leaves you. A surprise government fine arrives. You lose half of what you had earned. The slave enters survival mode. They fill with terror. They contract their expenses to the extreme. They begin to vibrate in the most miserable scarcity. They curse their luck and feel like a failure. By reacting with terror to the downward swing of the pendulum, The slave injects energy into the loss, turning a cycle into a state. The sovereign operates in a radically different way. The sovereign sees money vanishing from their account, and their pulse does not change. Their breathing remains cold and steady. The sovereign understands that physical money is only the echo of their internal vibration. If the tide goes down, they know the universe is testing their concept. They know that loss of capital is only the pendulum gaining momentum. If they stand firm without fear, the pendulum will return to the right with 10 times the force, bringing millions. Rhythm in love and solitude. The same lethal principle operates in your relationships. You find an extraordinary partner. You live through months of passion, perfect synchrony, and telepathic love. It is the emotional summer, but inevitably autumn will arrive. Friction will begin. There will be days of disconnection. You will feel coldness. The drama addict cannot stand the silence. When they feel the partner move away a millimeter, the addict pursues, suffocates, demands attention, and makes scenes of jealousy to regain the euphoria. That stupid resistance to the contraction phase is what destroys marriages. By not letting the relationship breathe, you suffocate it. High-level relationships need winter. They need space. They need both parties to temporarily withdraw into their own individuality to process growth. If your partner moves away, or if the relationship ends abruptly, do not look at it as the end of the world. Look at it as the pendulum sweeping away what is no longer aligned. If that person belongs to your empire, the swing of the pendulum will bring them back renewed. If they do not belong, the pendulum will sweep them away to leave the vacancy open for a real king or queen. The era of resistance. Human suffering boils down to a single mathematical word: resistance. Pain is inevitable when you collide with the physical world, but suffering is a pathological choice. Suffering occurs only when you resist the natural movement of the pendulum. When the tide goes down and you swim against the current trying to force it up, you wear yourself out. You lose your vital energy. You exhaust yourself mentally and physically fighting against an unbreakable cosmic law. Trying to stop the hermetic pendulum with your hands is for idiots. If winter comes, you don't go out to the garden to scream at the trees for dropping their leaves. You accept the damn cold. You bundle up. You lock yourself in your castle. You light the fire in the inner fireplace. And you use the darkness of winter to plan the strategy for the next spring. That is offering no resistance. It is surrendering to the destructive phase of the cycle without losing your crown. It is letting chaos sweep away the useless. Chaos has misunderstood order. Your human intellect is limited. Your logical mind processes information in an extremely narrow bandwidth. Therefore, what you do not understand, you call chaos or tragedy. But at a quantum level, chaos does not exist. What you call chaos is simply a higher order that your primate brain is not capable of processing right now. Imagine you are a caterpillar that has just enclosed itself in a cocoon. Inside that cocoon, the caterpillar's body literally dissolves. It becomes a soup of biological acid. If the caterpillar had a human ego, it would scream in terror. I am melting, I am dying. My life is a disaster, the universe is destroying me. The caterpillar perceives absolute and terrifying chaos. But infinite intelligence knows that acid is perfect genetic engineering. It is the exact order to assemble the butterfly's wings. Your financial or romantic life in crisis is exactly that cocoon full of acid. It feels like death, you feel like you are losing your form, but you are not dying. You are mutating. Chaos is the universe disassembling the pieces of your past mediocrity so it can assemble the structure of your new titanium empire. Cleaning the environment and the pendulum. One of the most cruel and relentless functions of the law of rhythm is the purging of your social environment. When the pendulum goes backward, it acts as a scan for loyalty and frequency. In the glory days, when you are at the top, everyone is your friend. Everyone wants to partner with you. Your table is full of flatterers. But when the rhythm changes, when money is temporarily scarce, when your name is attacked or you fail publicly, the pendulum applies a brutal centrifugal force. That force expels the parasites. Mediocre friends abandon you. Disloyal partners show their true faces and betray you. Self-interested partners pack their bags and flee. The slave gets depressed. They cry over the betrayal. They feel like the loneliest being in the universe. They believe they have lost the love and support of their tribe in their darkest moment. The sovereign creator celebrates. The sovereign watches the parasites run toward the emergency exits and smiles. Chaos does you an immense favor. It shows you who is made of cardboard and who is made of steel. It saves you years of living with snakes disguised as friends. Winter kills the weak. De-identification from the 3D world. To survive the onslaught of the pendulum without losing your sanity, you have to master the skill of radical de-identification. You have to divorce yourself from the three-dimensional world. Your error is believing that you are your bank account. You think you are your job title. You think your value is tied to your success. If you tie your identity to physical objects, paper money, or people of flesh, you will be condemned to suffer the same volatility as them. You will rise and fall at the sickening rhythm of the market. You have to cut that umbilical cord today. You are not your 3D results. You are the immortal and untouchable pilot of the ship. If your company goes bankrupt tomorrow, the smoke clears. But you are still the damn pilot. You have the machine of imagination intact that created the first company. You can create 100 more. When you know this with mathematical certainty, the fall of the pendulum does not scare you. You are immune to material loss. The art of falling upward. The great masters of alchemy knew a secret to hack the law of rhythm. They knew that although you cannot stop the swing of the pendulum, you can change the pivot point. Imagine a swinging pendulum. If you are at the bottom tip on the lead weight, the journey is long, dizzying, and violent. It drags you between extremes. But if you climb up the rope of the pendulum, if you get closer to the fixed point where the pendulum hangs from the ceiling, the movement is barely a millimeter. Below, there is a hurricane. Above, there is almost absolute stillness. Climbing the rope means raising your consciousness above temporary circumstances. When crisis hits, you apply the principle of polarity and fall upward. Instead of sinking into panic, you ascend to the observation room of your own mind. You become the witness. You watch the financial world collapse. You watch people panic. You watch the temporary loss of your assets, but you do it without reacting. By not reacting, you cut off the fuel for the chaos. Chaos feeds on your fear. If you don't give it fear, the fire goes out quickly. The pendulum passes underneath you without touching your feet. The necessity of psychological death. You have to accept death if you want to govern life. I am not talking about the biological cessation of your heart. I am talking about the continuous and necessary death of your old identities and your comfort zones. Every time the pendulum sweeps your life with a crisis, it offers you the opportunity to murder the weak self. Nature demands sacrifices. For the emperor to be born, the cowardly prince must be decapitated. The crisis does not come to destroy your future, it comes to murder your past so you have room. If you cling to your old identity, you will suffer the most painful agony in the world. The universe will rip your skin off in strips. Surrender to the sword. When the crisis arrives, voluntarily put your neck on the guillotine. Say out loud, kill everything that is weak in me. Destroy the falsehood. Leave me only with my golden core. That voluntary surrender to destruction makes you a terrifying being for the system. The value of uncertainty. The relentless pendulum forces you to live on the border of the unknown. The slave seeks security. They want a fixed salary, a predictable partner, and a life without surprises until the day they die. Security is the most pathetic illusion of the modern world. It does not exist. A virus can lock down the world. To seek security is to seek death while alive. It is building a padded prison and locking the door from the inside. The sovereign creator despises security. The sovereign embraces wild uncertainty. They know that in chaos and the unknown dwell all the infinite possibilities of quantum creation. Love the pendulum. Love the wild movement of the universe. Fall in love with the fall as much as the rise, because both are the heartbeat of your own creative immensity experiencing itself. The pendulum has just swept your life. The ground is clear. The ruins are smoking. Now your ego is about to have a tantrum. Chapter 2: The Ego's Tantrum. The addiction to euphoria and the obsession with good times. The pendulum has just struck. The cosmic winter has arrived at your door. You have just lost $1 million business, or the person who swore to love you forever packed their bags and left. The ground is leveled. Smoke rises over the ruins of your three-dimensional hologram. The crisis is real on the physical plane. And now in the center of your chest, a monster begins to awaken. It is not a majestic monster. It is not a roaring lion. It is a spoiled, terrified, and pathetic child throwing itself to the ground to kick and scream. It is your own ego having the biggest tantrum in its history. Your ego is screaming, "It's not fair. I visualized. I applied the law. The universe has betrayed me. I refuse to accept this." You are suffering a metaphysical panic attack. Welcome to the detox room. Today, you are going to find out that you are an addict. You are a chronic junkie. But your drug is not an illegal chemical. It is the temporary euphoria of the 3D world. The disease of high vibrations. The modern spirituality industry has injected you with a lethal poison. It has sold you the idea that being a creator means living in a permanent state of high vibration. They told you that if you feel sad, angry, or frustrated, you are ruining your manifestation. They taught you to be terrified of your own dark emotions. They turned you into a phobic of pain. That philosophy of toxic positivity has made you fragile as glass. You have built a paper empire that crumbles with the first breeze of reality. You are incapable of holding the pressure of the universe. When you manifest something big, you experience a brutal dopamine rush. You feel a wild euphoria. You believe you are invincible, and your reptilian brain literally becomes addicted to that chemical peak. But euphoria is not the natural state of the sovereign. Euphoria is a cheap, noisy, and volatile emotion. It is the emotional signature of the one who just won the lottery, not the one who built the bank. The quantum withdrawal syndrome. When the pendulum swings and the crisis strips you of your money or your partner, your dopamine supply is cut off abruptly. Your brain enters a withdrawal syndrome identical to that of a heroin addict. The tantrum of your ego is not a search for cosmic justice. It is your neurology screaming for its favorite drug. It is screaming for the drug of external validation. Your ego does not cry because it has lost the loved one. It cries because it has lost the mirror that told it how wonderful it was. It cries because the hologram stopped applauding. This is the deepest and most humiliating slavery of the human being. You have tied your peace of mind, your self-concept, and your identity to the weather conditions of the three-dimensional world. If the market goes up, you are a genius. If the market goes down, you are a failure. You are a flag moved by the wind. You have no will of your own. You are an absolute puppet of physical circumstances. The terror of loss as an accelerator. This is where the ego's tantrum becomes a weapon of mass destruction against your own empire. Understand the physics of what you do when you cling desperately to what you have manifested. You manifest your ideal relationship. At first, you are happy, but after 3 months the ego whispers, what if they leave? What if they find someone better? What if this is too good to be true? That dull and constant fear is a direct instruction to the electromagnetic field. You are issuing a loss order. Your terror of losing the crown is proof that deep down you believe you do not deserve it. The universe, which always seeks balance, detects that dissonance. It detects that you are gripping the steering wheel with the white knuckles of panic, and the pendulum reacts to that tension. Your own fear is the gravitational force that accelerates the pendulum toward destruction. The crisis did not come from outside, it came from your inability to relax in the possession of your desire. Things do not leave your life because fate is cruel. They leave because you suffocated them. You strangled them with your need for control and with your pathological terror of becoming a nobody again. The illusion of private property. The tantrum of your ego is based on a capitalist and biological illusion, the idea of property. You believe you own your money. You believe you own your partner or your titles. Listen to me with coldness. In this universe, you own absolutely nothing physical. You came to this hologram naked, and you will leave it naked. Matter is temporary by design. The money you have in the bank is not yours. It is condensed quantum energy that is visiting your physical coordinate. The person sleeping next to you is not yours. They are a guest actor in your timeline. When you believe you own matter, you become attached. Attachment is the mathematical root of all human suffering. The sovereign does not possess things. The sovereign simply experiences them. If you rent a luxury hotel room for a weekend, you enjoy every second. But when Sunday comes and you have to hand over the key, you don't throw yourself on the floor crying. You knew it was temporary. You knew you were passing through. That is the exact attitude you should have with every $1 million, with every partner, and with every victory you manifest in this dimension. Enjoy it with wild passion while it is on your movie screen. But when the universe changes the tape and the scene ends, hand it over with the same icy elegance and without shedding a single tear. The secret of masochistic pleasure. Why does your ego throw such a dramatic tantrum? Because although it is hard for you to admit, your ego feels a morbid, dark, and masochistic pleasure in failure. Secretly, your ego is fascinated by crashing. Absolute success is boring for an untrained mind. Success demands constant responsibility. It demands maintaining a titanium self-concept. It demands never being able to complain about life again. But when the plane crashes and everything goes to hell, your ego feels a perverse relief. Suddenly you no longer have the pressure of being a king. Suddenly you can go back to being a poor misunderstood victim. The tantrum gives you the perfect excuse to give up. It gives you permission to call your mediocre friends, ask for a drink, and spend all night talking about how unfair the world is to you. Failure returns you to the warm and familiar mud of your emotional childhood. You get the dopamine of others' compassion. The pity of others becomes your new replacement drug. You have to be brave enough to look your ego in the eyes and say, I know what you are doing. You are sabotaging yourself on purpose because you are terrified of absolute peace. I caught you. The icy embrace of nothingness. When the pendulum hits you in the face and takes away what you loved most, your first instinct will be to react. You will want to send that message full of anger. You will want to sell the stocks in a panic. You will want to scream. I strictly forbid you to move a single physical muscle. The ego's tantrum feeds on reactive action. If you act while you're at the bottom of the pendulum, you will only multiply the chaos by 100. Your only mission at the epicenter of disaster is tactical immobility. You sit in a chair, you close your eyes, and you let the ego's tantrum burn inside you like a forest fire. You are going to feel like you are dying. You're going to feel a suffocating pressure in your chest. The ego will tell you, do something, fix it, defend yourself. You will do absolutely nothing. You're going to embrace the icy void. You're going to observe the hysteria of your own mind as if you were watching a madman. You are not the madman. You are the silent observer. You let the fire consume the oxygen until it goes out by itself. This is the death of the old man. It is the incineration of your emotional fragility. If you manage to get through the first 48 hours of chaos without reacting physically, you will have won the war. The power of calculated disappointment. They have told you that you must have hope that things will improve. Hope is another trap to keep you tied to the pendulum. Hope implies that you are not complete in this moment. The sovereign does not use hope. They use calculated disappointment. When the project fails miserably, the sovereign looks at it. They decree, "I accept that this is completely dead in the 3D world." They do not try to revive the corpse. They do not pray to the infinite intelligence to turn back time. They accept the fall with non-negotiable brutality. They assume the loss to its ultimate logical consequences. By accepting the worst, the ego is left without weapons. The fear of losing disappears when you have already accepted total loss in your mind. And paradoxically, by letting go completely, quantum magic restarts. The electromagnetic field detects that there is no more resistance. It detects that you are not afraid of hell. And by losing respect for chaos, chaos loses its jurisdiction over your timeline. The identity of the projector, not the movie. The addiction to euphoria is born from a catastrophic identity error. You identify with the movie that is being projected on the screen instead of identifying with the light of the projector. If in the movie the protagonist loses their empire and is betrayed, the slave in the seat cries with terror. They believe they are the protagonist. They feel the pain of the holographic stab in their own flesh, but the projector in the booth does not suffer. The pure light that passes through the tape is not stained with blood, does not become poor, and does not get depressed. The light remains white and invulnerable. You have to move your consciousness into the projection booth. When the pendulum shatters your external life, you say to yourself, "Interesting plot twist, but I am the light that projects this scene. My creative capacity has not suffered a single scratch. The mirror broke, but my face remains intact. I can buy another mirror and project an empire 10 times larger tomorrow morning." That clinical separation between your I am and your material circumstances is what makes you a god among men. You become bulletproof. The stock market or global crises can no longer touch you. The brutal energy at the bottom of the abyss. There is a secret hidden at the bottom of the pendulum that the gurus of light and love will never tell you. When you are at the lowest point of your life, when the ego has had its tantrum and has surrendered, in that precise instant, you have access to the largest reserve of energy in the universe. Pain, frustration, and absolute nothingness are high-octane fuels. Euphoria makes you lazy. Success numbs you. But the abyss wakes you up with the violence of a bucket of ice water in the face. The bottom of the pit has a solid floor, and from the floor, you can only jump. The adept takes the darkness of their bankruptcy or their divorce and does not mourn it. They absorb it. They swallow it whole. They use that dense energy to strain the arc of their consciousness toward a new level of greatness. The best works of art and the most resilient empires were not born in summer. They were born in the cutting cold of winter. Your current crisis is not your grave. It is the launch pad for your next quantum mutation. But you can only use the ramp if you stop kicking, get up off the ground, and assume command of the ship in flames. The relentless peace of the sovereign. True peace is not smiling when your bank account has 6 zeros to the right. Any lucky idiot can do that. That is a basic conditioned reflex of a satisfied animal. True peace, the peace that terrifies the matrix and bends the universe, is watching how your bank account reaches zero and remaining serene. It is watching people turn their backs on you and maintaining a slow, deep and calm breath. It is walking through the ruins of your own life with a straight back, relaxed shoulders, and a smile of technical superiority on your face, knowing that you possess the source code to rebuild everything. When you achieve that peace in the middle of hell, you graduate. You have overcome the addiction to euphoria. You have become independent of the environment. You are, at last, an original cause and not a simple effect bouncing in time. And it is here where you can execute the move of hermetic alchemy. You are not going to stop the pendulum. You are going to let it pass underneath you. Chapter 3: The Law of Neutralization. Rising above the blade and the art of tactical indifference. The ego has stopped screaming. You have crossed the first 48 hours of the crisis without destroying your physical life. You survived the withdrawal syndrome of euphoria. You are sitting in the middle of the ruins of your old hologram. The money disappeared, the relationship fractured, or your life project failed publicly. The hermetic pendulum has hit you with an impeccable mathematical brutality, and now faced with disaster, you have two absolutist options. You can stay on the ground, cry, pick up the broken pieces, and try to tape your old life back together. That is the option of the masochistic slave. You choose your chains. Or you can look up, smile at the quantum field with the cold blood of an enlightened psychopath, and execute the most advanced maneuver of mental alchemy. Welcome to the law of neutralization. It is the best-kept secret of the ancient masters to hack the law of rhythm without violating the laws of physics. The secret of the alchemists. The Kybalion is clear and ruthless. You cannot stop the pendulum. No one can. The universe demands oscillation. Expansion demands contraction. Day demands night. Trying to stop the movement of the cosmic pendulum with your three-dimensional hands is an act of stupid arrogance that will cost you your sanity. The slave tries to stop the pendulum by reacting, fighting, demanding, begging, or working 20 hours a day in a state of absolute panic. But the Hermetic Masters discovered a shortcut, a crack in the matrix code. They discovered that although you cannot stop the pendulum, you can change your position on it. The law of neutralization does not stop the storm. It simply lifts you above it. It allows the hurricane to ravage the physical ground while you float in a clear sky. It is the ultimate tactical bypass for the human soul. The anatomy of the pendulum rope. To understand this quantum magic, visualize a giant pendulum clock. At the lowest part of the rope there is a heavy lead ball. That lead ball travels an immense distance. It swings violently from the right extreme, maximum euphoria, to the left extreme, absolute depression. Most humans live sitting on that ball. The vast majority of humanity is dragged at dizzying speeds. They live dizzy, vomiting, and terrified by the swings of fortune. But observe the rope of the pendulum. As your gaze moves up the rope, approaching the anchor point on the ceiling, the movement is drastically reduced. The arc becomes smaller and smaller. Just in the millimeter before reaching the ceiling, the movement is imperceptible. Below there is a storm of a 1-meter path. Above, the vibration is barely a fraction of a millimeter. The law of neutralization is the mental act of letting go of the lead ball in the middle of freefall and climbing the rope toward the point of stillness. The disconnection of the physical avatar. How do you climb that invisible rope? Through a brutal and violent de-identification from your own three-dimensional avatar. You have to divorce yourself from your body and your story. You have to understand, at a cellular level, that you are not John or Mary. You are not the employee, the business owner, the husband, or the wife. Those are rental costumes. You are the unconditioned I am. You are pure consciousness without form and without limit, playing a virtual reality video game inside that suit of flesh. When the pendulum strikes, it strikes the suit of flesh. It strikes the bank account. It strikes the social reputation of your 3D avatar. The slave suffers because he believes he is the avatar. He feels the financial stab, as if his biological heart were being pierced. He bleeds emotionally for numbers on a screen. The adept raises his consciousness. The adept retreats to the player's booth. He looks at the screen and says, "Wow, my avatar just lost all his money, interesting." The adept does not cry for the avatar. He knows the video game gold is not real gold. He knows his eternal I am cannot go bankrupt, cannot be abandoned, and cannot die. He remains the silent witness. Holy psychopathy and tactical indifference. This de-identification produces an emotional state that terrifies the sleeping. It produces what I call holy psychopathy. It is a tactical and absolute indifference in the face of disaster. Imagine your company just went bankrupt. You have massive debts. Debt collectors are calling you constantly. Your family panics and looks at you, expecting you to collapse or scream in despair. But you do not scream. You pour yourself a coffee. You sit in your armchair, and you look out the window with an expression of total relaxation. Your breathing is deep and cold. You are in absolute peace. Your family will think you have lost your mind. They will believe traumatic shock disconnected you from reality. They will demand that you worry. They will demand that you feel the fear they feel. Do not listen to them. Their fear is a low-frequency virus. Your indifference is not madness. It is the ultimate demonstration of sanity. It is sanity in a holographic universe that responds to assumption. You know that if you worry, you drop to the lead ball of the pendulum. If you worry, you give physical reality to the bankruptcy, and the quantum field will solidify that ruin for 10 years. You refuse to sign the contract of misery. But by applying tactical indifference, you strip the crisis of all electromagnetic energy. The crisis is like a vampire. It only survives if you let it drink from your fear. If you show yourself indifferent, the vampire starves to death in your living room. The pendulum of bankruptcy swings, cutting the air, but you are levitating. The end of the biological reaction. Neutralization is not a cheap psychological trick. It is not repeating positive affirmations while you are trembling with terror inside. The universe detects biological fraud instantly. Neutralization is a deep neurological state. You have to train your central nervous system not to fire cortisol and adrenaline. You must train it to remain calm in front of the threats of the 3D world. When you open an email with bad news, your heart will try to race by animal survival instinct. That is the critical millisecond. That is where the war is decided. The slave lets the heart race, panics and reacts. The sovereign creator catches that heartbeat. He forces his lungs to exhale long and slow. He masters the beast. You command your physical body with the authority of a god. Calm down. This is a simple shadow projected on the wall. There is no real danger. I am the only authority in this hologram. You remain the master of your biology. By breaking the biological reaction, you cut the cycle of negative manifestation. The wave of chaos crashes against a titanium breakwater and dissolves into harmless foam. You stop being a reactive animal and become a creative cause. Quantum Aikido. This lack of reaction is the basis of quantum Aikido. In the martial art of Aikido, you do not block the opponent's blow with brute force. That would break your bones. In Aikido, you move aside 1 millimeter, take the opponent's arm, and use the momentum of their own attack to throw them through the air. Three-dimensional chaos is your opponent. It comes at you with brutal speed. It comes to take away your partner, your health, or your money. If you get rigid and resist, it will break you in two. If you resist by crying, denying reality, or fighting in court from anger, the law of rhythm will crush you. The sovereign applies quantum Aikido. He becomes ethereal. He becomes empty. When the blow of betrayal or bankruptcy arrives, the sovereign simply accepts the impact without internal resistance. He says, I accept that this is occurring on the 3D screen. He steps away from his own wounded ego. He lets the force of the event pass through him. The storm finds no solid target to hit. He is the ghost in the machine. The blade passing underneath. By raising your consciousness toward the I am and becoming ethereal, you experience the physical and spiritual sensation of levitation. You have risen above the blade of the pendulum. You see the sharp blade passing at full speed just below the soles of your shoes. It cuts your material possessions. It cuts your false relationships. It cuts your reputation. The world screams in horror seeing how you are left with nothing, but you look down from your superior anchor point and smile. The blade shattered the hologram, but it could not touch your soul. It could not touch the source. It did not steal your electromagnetic frequency. It did not steal the mathematical certainty that you are the absolute architect. You lost the bricks, but you keep the master plans and the cement factory. That is the ultimate victory. The universe recognizes an adept when it tries to ruin him, and he responds with boredom. The matrix bows before that arrogance, the test of absolute ruin. For this law to work, you have to lose the fear of absolute ruin. The ego manipulates you because you are terrified of being homeless, being alone, or being publicly humiliated. You have to sit in the darkness of your room, close your eyes, and visualize the worst possible scenario. Visualize losing everything. Visualize that everyone abandons you, that you sleep on the street. Look at it head on, feel the initial terror, and then take away its power. Look at yourself on that street, naked and broken, and realize that your creative consciousness is still intact. You are still the source of all light. Say to yourself, even at the bottom of the darkest abyss, I remain the master collapse of the wave function. If I fall into this hell, I will build a palace of gold in 3 days. When you assume you can lose everything and still be the king of the universe, you become unmanipulable. You are bulletproof. No one can threaten a human who is not afraid to lose everything. The boss cannot terrorize you with firing. The partner cannot blackmail you with abandonment. You are lethally free. Forgiveness as a flotation tool. An anchor that prevents you from climbing the pendulum rope is resentment. If in the crisis there were third parties involved, a partner who stole from you, an ex who lied, your ego will demand revenge. You will want to hate them. You will want karma to punish them. You want to see them suffer. That thirst for revenge is a block of lead tied to your cosmic ankles. As long as you hate an NPC in your hologram, you are recognizing their power over you. You are admitting that a 3D illusion had the capacity to harm your eternal I am. It is a quantum blasphemy. You are staying on the lead ball. To levitate, you have to let go of the anchor. You have to use radical forgiveness, not for moral superiority, but for pure mathematical survival. You forgive so as not to sink with them. You look at the traitor and say, "You are a hologram executing an old script that I wrote. You are fired and forgiven." By cutting the thread of resentment, gravity disappears. Your spiritual hot air balloon releases the ballast and shoots toward the stratosphere of the state of neutralization. The aggressor disappears from your radar because you no longer share their frequency. Monstrous peace. The law of neutralization grants you a state of consciousness that defies human logic. It grants you a monstrous peace. It is a peace that offends the weak and those addicted to drama. You will walk through fire and not smell of smoke. You will cross divorces and bankruptcies with elegance. You will walk with the elegance of someone strolling through a rose garden on a spring afternoon. People will look at you with terror and admiration. They will wonder if you are a robot without feelings or if you are under the effect of some powerful drug. They will not understand you are high on your own divine authority. That peace is the perfect deflector shield. No poisoned 3D arrow can pierce an aura that vibrates in the frequency of absolute neutrality. Misfortune bounces off you. The universe, scanning your field, will only find fertile vacuum. It will not find fear or guilt or anger. It will find a blank page, the optical illusion of delay. While you are neutralizing the fall of the pendulum, something will happen that will despair your logical intellect. There will be a delay in the manifestation of your new physical reality. You are already in peace. You already accepted the loss. You already rose above the blade. Your vibration is of an absolute king. But you look at the physical world and the rubble is still there. The debts are still there. The bank account is still at zero. Physical loneliness is still present. Your ego will tell you, "See, neutralization is useless. I am at peace. but I am still poor in the real world. It's a lie. This is the most dangerous moment of the whole process. You have to understand the density of 3D matter. The physical plane is like thick pitch. It is slow, heavy, and clumsy to move. Your change of vibration is an instantaneous bolt of light in the invisible plane, but reorganization requires logistical time. The world you see right now with its ruins and scarcity is not your vibrational present. It is the light of a dead star traveling through space. It is the echo of the past crashing into your eyes. The sovereign knows this. Therefore, he does not ask for immediate proof from the physical world. He knows the end is certain, holding the position in the storm. The work of the adept is to hold the position on the high rope. Do not go down to check the lead ball every day. Do not open the bank app every hour to see if the miracle has already happened. Maintain tactical indifference. Keep breathing slowly. Continue treating the physical world as a boring movie. Treat it as a movie you have already seen, and of which you already know the glorious ending. It is in this mental immobility that the quantum field accumulates a monstrous tension. The dissonance between your inner peace and the outer disaster generates an electric arc at the atomic level. The matrix cannot sustain that contradiction for long. The laws of spiritual thermodynamics demand that the environment adapt to the strongest and most sustained frequency of the equation. And since you refuse to drop to the frequency of ruin, the universe has no choice but to raise the physical reality to yours, preparing the fall upward. You have learned to levitate over destruction. You have neutralized the pain and panic of the pendulum's fall. You have turned the apocalypse of your ego into any given Tuesday afternoon. But staying suspended in the air is not the end of the game. Neutralization saves your life, but it doesn't build the skyscraper. It is only the bomb shelter. Once the dust settles and the blade passes, you find yourself in a dark, cold, and completely desolate terrain. Your false friends are gone. Your old money burned. You are alone in the cosmic winter. Most students get depressed in this phase. They have peace, but they are bored. They feel the vacuum of inactivity. They feel the universe left them in an infinite waiting room. They do not know that this winter and this vacuum are the most lethal tactical weapons available to the Creator. They do not know that in the darkness of the seed is where the height of the bamboo is programmed. Chapter 4: The Tactical Winter. The Strategy of Darkness and the Power of the Void. The pendulum has swept through your three-dimensional life. The storm has passed. You applied the law of neutralization with cold and ruthless mastery. You rose above the blade. You survived the impact without losing your crown. But now, you open your eyes and realize where you are standing. You are in a barren landscape. The battlefield is deserted. Your phone no longer rings. Your so-called friends have disappeared. The money has stopped flowing. Projects are frozen. You feel as if the entire universe has hit pause on your life. Welcome to the cosmic winter. Welcome to the season most feared by slaves, yet the most sacred and fertile for true creators. Today you are going to learn to love the cold. You are going to understand why the vacuum you feel is not a punishment, but the engine room where empires that last 1,000 years are forged. The terror of the void and silence. The human mind is a machine addicted to noise. You have been trained since childhood to terrify you of boredom and emptiness. Silence is physically unbearable for you. When your life stands still, your ego panics. The ego screams, "We are stuck. We are falling behind. Everyone else is moving forward and we are doing nothing." The three-dimensional slave hates winter, because in the silence of winter, he is forced to listen to his own thoughts. He is forced to face his own mediocrity. Therefore, when life puts them on pause, slaves run to fill themselves with noise. They seek rebound relationships. They take mediocre jobs out of desperation. They go out to party just to avoid thinking. That is the exact recipe for ruining the magic of the law of rhythm. If you fill the void with cheap trash, you are telling the universe that you have neither the patience nor the greatness to wait for the gold. The lie of constant productivity. The capitalist system has infected you with the culture of effort. They have told you that you must be productive 24 hours a day, that if you sleep, the competition will crush you. They taught you that success is a rat race, where the one who runs fastest in the wheel is the winner. That is the mentality of pawns, not kings. Nature, which is the ultimate expression of infinite intelligence, is not productive all year round. Nature demands autumnal death so that the explosion of spring can exist. Observe a tree in the middle of winter. It is naked. It looks like a dead and sterile wooden skeleton. An ignorant person would say the tree failed. But the botanist knows the truth. He knows the tree is not dead. It is in a state of tactical conservation. It has withdrawn all its sap, all its vital energy, toward the deep roots. The tree knows that if it tries to produce flowers in the middle of the frost, the ice will burn the petals and the plant will die of exhaustion. The violent and necessary pruning. To survive this season, you must imitate the ruthlessness of nature. You must apply violent pruning. You must let your dead leaves fall without feeling a gram of pity. What are your dead leaves? They are those businesses that no longer excite you, but that you kept out of fear. They are those friendships that only seek you to complain. Winter is the perfect excuse the universe gives you to amputate everything that is not at the level of your next vibrational level. The cold kills the parasites. Do not try to glue dead leaves back onto branches with emotional glue. If a client leaves, let them go. If a partner betrays you and moves away, lock the door twice. Pruning hurts. You will feel naked. You will feel vulnerable in front of society because you no longer have physical achievements to display. Your ego will bleed from the lack of applause. But that nakedness is the non-negotiable requirement for greatness. You cannot put on titanium armor if you refuse to take off beggar's rags. Darkness as a creative womb. You have to change your psychological relationship with darkness. Society associates darkness with evil, depression, and death. That is a childish and primitive vision. In the Hermetic universe, darkness is not a tomb. It is a womb. Everything that has life, power, and value in this world is conceived and forged in absolute darkness. A human baby forms in the total blackness of the mother's womb. Seeds germinate under the suffocating and dark weight of the earth. Diamonds crystallize under the blind pressure of tectonic plates. When the universe isolates you, it is not burying you alive. It is planting you. It is giving you the pressure, solitude, and darkness necessary for your core to break and your true roots to begin piercing the ground. You are in gestation. Tactical isolation. To take advantage of this cosmic womb, the sovereign creator declares a state of tactical isolation. It is a voluntary spiritual quarantine. It is closing the borders of your hologram. During the winter of your life, I strictly forbid you from going out to seek external validation. Do not tell anyone about your problems. Do not go crying on the shoulders of the tribe of unbelievers. If you show your wounds to the mediocre, they will enjoy your fall. They will tell you, "We warned you. You flew too high and got burned. Go back to being a normal person like us." Their compassion is poisonous. Their pity is a lead anchor that will keep you down. The sovereign licks his own wounds in the silence of his cave. Close your social networks if necessary. Stop looking at the display cases of other people's fake successes. Cut the supply of outside noise. Become a hermit in the middle of the city. The 3D dopamine fast. Physical isolation must be accompanied by a 3-dimensional dopamine fast. Your brain will be begging for distractions. It will want to watch series, drink alcohol, or eat junk to evade the void. The pain of winter does not come from the cold outside. It comes from your resistance to feeling the void inside. If you evade the void with drugs, cheap entertainment, or food, you paralyze the alchemical process. You have to dare to sit on your sofa, in absolute silence, without screens, without music, and simply exist in the middle of nowhere. You have to look your own abyss in the eyes without blinking. At first, anxiety will eat you up inside. Your mind will run at 1,000 miles per hour, remembering the past or fearing the future. But if you stay firm, the beast will tire. And when the beast of the ego surrenders due to lack of external stimuli, the miracle occurs. You enter the 0 point, you enter pure potentiality, underground engineering. What exactly does the sovereign do during this isolation? Does he simply sit and wait for time to pass? Absolutely not. Winter is not passivity. It is internal work of the highest intensity. While the surface of the earth seems dead, beneath the ground there is a hell of biological activity. Roots are breaking rocks, expanding their network, and anchoring themselves to the center of the earth. Your work in winter is underground engineering. It is the absolute and radical redesign of your self-concept. You are going to use the silence to rewrite your own metaphysical genetic code. If the crisis took all your money, you do not spend the winter looking for mediocre little jobs to survive. You spend the winter convincing every cell of your body that you are a multi-millionaire at rest. You brainwash yourself so aggressively that the idea of not being rich will seem like a mathematical impossibility. Contempt for physical evidence. This underground work requires a psychopathic faith. It requires you to look at your bank account at 0, and then look in the mirror and laugh out loud at the 3-dimensional lie. It requires your partner to have left you, and you walk through your empty house, feeling the arrogance of being the most loved person in the universe. The mastery of winter is absolute contempt for physical evidence. The 3D world screams at you, "You are broke," and you respond telepathically, "Nice hologram, but I own the bank." If you need to see the seed sprout to believe it is alive, you will fail. You have to know your assumption has already germinated in 5D, destruction of the victim identity. Winter will play one last trick on you. On the coldest and loneliest nights, the ghost of the victim will try to enter your castle again. It will try to convince you that your isolation is a punishment. The voice will whisper, "Look at you. You are alone. You have lost everything. You are a failure. You are a delusional fool." That is the siren song of the Matrix. It is the guardian of the threshold trying to scare you so you don't cross to the next level. It is your old neurology giving its last death spasms. Do not argue with that voice. Do not try to convince it of anything. Simply observe the thought and pierce it with tactical indifference. Say, "Interesting thought of scarcity. Too bad it doesn't belong to me," and let it die of starvation. Every time you deny your reaction to that voice, you kill a victimhood circuit in your brain, recognizing darkness as an ally. As you advance in winter, you will notice something fascinating. You will begin to enjoy the cold. You will begin to love the solitude. You will realize that darkness is not your enemy. It is your protective mantle. Darkness hides your quantum fetus from the predatory eyes of society. Darkness allows you to make mistakes in private, rebuild your walls without anyone judging you, and lick your wounds in peace. The creator who loves his winter becomes truly invincible. If you are no longer afraid of solitude or temporary failure, what on earth is the universe going to threaten you with? What weapon can the Matrix use against a human who looks at financial bankruptcy and says, "Great, I needed a vacation to redesign my empire in peace"? You have hacked the reward and punishment system of life. You have become an unbreakable monster. You are the architect who uses both pain and pleasure as bricks. The illusion of stagnation. For months it will seem like you are not moving forward a single inch. You will do your visualizations, hold the iron mental diet, apply the deathly silence, and the outside world will remain exactly as cold. This is where the analogy of the Japanese bamboo comes to life with literal brutality. The farmer waters the land for 5 years without seeing a single green sprout. Everyone laughs at him. But the farmer knows quantum botany. He knows that if he digs up the earth to look for proof of growth, he will kill the seed. His only job is to keep watering the sterile ground with blind faith. Your imagination is that water. Your persistence in the self-concept of a king is the fertilizer. Even if you don't see results, you keep watering the black earth. Stagnation is the greatest optical illusion of the physical plane. Energy never stagnates, it only condenses. You are building a monster pressure, the awakening of internal senses. In this prolonged isolation, a biological mutation will occur. By turning off the noise of the outside 3D world, your internal senses, your spiritual eyes and ears, will sharpen to superhuman levels. You will begin to see your wish fulfilled with terrifying clarity. Your scenes will stop being blurry fantasies. They will become dense, real, and physically palpable. You will feel the smell of the leather of your new car. You will feel the weight of the gold rings on your fingers. The controlled hallucination will become your primary reality, and the physical world will begin to seem like a blurry dream. By the time you reach this point of internal saturation, winter has done its job. You have survived the trial of darkness. You have forged tungsten roots capable of sustaining any weight. Feeling the cracking of the ice, how do you know that spring is about to explode? You will not know it by external signs. You will not see repeating numbers or butterflies. The universe will not send you a text message. You will know it because a collapse will occur in your own chest. Suddenly, mental effort will disappear. Suddenly you will no longer have to strive to feel rich or loved. You will simply be. You will wake up with a sense of bored, solid, and permanent peace. The urgency to see results will have evaporated. You will feel that you already have everything you wanted, even if the bank account is still empty. And it is at this exact moment of sovereign surrender when the ice on the surface breaks. It is here when the quantum field, detecting no resistance or lack in you, gives the order for physical materialization. The explosion of spring. Physics tells us that energy is not destroyed, only transformed. All that tension and subterranean pressure you accumulated during the long winter has to come out. The explosion will be violent, sudden, and disproportionate. What took years to gestate will materialize in front of your eyes in a matter of hours. You will receive a phone call that will change the course of your history. A ridiculously large contract will fall into your lap. The exact and perfect person will stumble upon you in a coffee shop. The pieces of the 3D chessboard will move at the speed of light. The whole universe will bend to hand you the crown. Those who criticized you for isolating yourself will look at you with their mouths open. They will ask how you had such luck. You will look at them with the cold compassion of one who has returned from hell. You will not explain the dark nights or the engineering of the mind. You will simply smile and enjoy the warmth of the sun on your new skin. Winter is over. The empire is yours, and the roots are so deep that no future wind will be able to knock you down. Preparing for the illusion of loss, you have survived the fall of the pendulum. You have used darkness to your advantage. You are the conscious architect of your own resurrection. But as you rebuild your empire, your logical ego will try to understand how the magic you just executed works. It will try to apply human accounting to the universe. That is an error that can drive you crazy. You have to understand that in the fifth dimension, matter does not work as they taught you in school. Loss does not exist. The death of a hologram is not the end of the energy. Chapter 5: The Illusion of Loss, Quantum Recycling and the Lie of Solid Matter. You have crossed the frozen hell of tactical winter. You have survived the darkness and purged your environment of mediocre actors. The ground is finally clean. But despite your new strength, there is a subtle poison still running through your veins. It is a poison society injected into you since birth. It is the absolute and dogmatic belief in the solidity of matter. It is your conviction that physical things are real, permanent, and above all, that they can be lost. Today, we are going to destroy the very basis of your material suffering. I am going to operate on your brain to excise the concept of mourning. You are going to lose your respect for physical matter forever. When you finish this chapter, the fear of poverty, the terror of abandonment, and the anguish over the passage of time will cease to exist in your biology. You will become a Teflon god. The terror of empty space. Your three-dimensional mind is a primitive biological machine designed exclusively for survival. It is genetically programmed to accumulate resources. Your reptilian brain believes that the accumulation of objects, money, and people is the only synonym for security. To accumulate means to live, to lose means to die. That is why when your bank account drops to zero, when your car is stolen, or when your partner abandons you, your brain triggers chemical alarms of imminent death. You feel a black hole in your stomach. You feel as if a piece of your own soul has been ripped out. You mourn the loss as if the object had ceased to exist. That pain is the irrefutable proof that you are still a slave to the hologram. You still believe that the movie projected on the screen is more real than the light of the projector. The first law of spiritual thermodynamics. We are going to apply pure physics to cure your emotional stupidity. The first law of thermodynamics dictates that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it only transforms. Apply this absolute law to the field of consciousness. The money you lost in that bad investment did not disappear. It did not evaporate into cosmic nothingness. It simply changed form. The relationship that ended did not die. The love you felt and the electromagnetic energy you shared were not deleted from the universe. They only returned to their original quantum state. Believing in loss is an optical illusion. It is like looking at an ice cube melting under the sun and crying bitterly, screaming, "The water has died. The water disappeared forever." The water did not die. It changed state. It became vapor. It rose. And eventually, it will condense into a cloud to fall back as a massive storm upon your head. The matrix and RAM memory. To understand why losses occur in your life, you must visualize your reality as what it truly is. A high-end, hyper-realistic video game. Every video game runs on a graphics engine and uses the RAM of a computer. RAM is finite. It has a limit on its capacity to process information at the same time. When your character moves to a new level, the game has to render and draw the new landscapes, the new castles, and the new treasures in front of you. But for the processor to have the energy and space to draw that new giant castle, it first has to delete the graphics of the previous level that you already passed. The game has to de-render the old wooden cabin. It has to delete the level 1 monsters. If the game tried to load the old map and the new one at the same time, the server would collapse. De-rendering in your 3D life. This is exactly what happens in your life when you ask for a massive quantum leap. You command from your I am the manifestation of a financial empire and an epic love. The Matrix server receives your order. It begins processing the calculations to render your new life. But your quantum RAM is full of trash. It is full of a mediocre job you hate. It is full of friends who drain your energy. It is full of a partner who mistreats you and debts that suffocate you. Infinite intelligence cannot download the golden skyscraper onto a plot occupied by rotten huts. The laws of holographic physics demand empty space. What does the universe do? It executes a violent de-rendering program. It closes your company. It makes your partner leave you. It fires you from your job. It destroys your current physical environment. The cry of the ignorant player. And there you are, the ignorant player, sitting in front of the screen screaming because the game just deleted your rusty wooden cabin. You scream, "The universe is unfair. I lost my job. I have lost the love of my life." You cling to the pixels fading on the screen and suffer an anxiety attack. You do not realize that the screen went black for a second only because it is loading the map of your new mansion. The loss is just the loading screen for the miracle. The sovereign knows the server's architecture. When the sovereign loses all his money overnight, he does not shed a single tear of terror. He smiles with anticipation. The sovereign says, "Wow, the processor just freed up a monstrous amount of RAM. The update coming must be ridiculously heavy. How exciting!" The recycling of matter. You have to change your definition of matter. Your car, your house, and the money in your account are not solid objects. They are vortices of condensed light, vibrating at a specific frequency. They are composed of atoms, and atoms are 99.9% empty space. Solidity is a lie your fleshly eyes tell you. It is a lie so that you can play on this chessboard. When you lose a house through foreclosure, the bricks do not disappear from the world. Simply, the atomic energy that kept that house united to your personal hologram has disintegrated. That energy has been returned to the unified field. It has returned to the cosmic clay factory, and now that same energy is available to be molded into the shape of a palace. Material loss is simply the universe recycling old matter that no longer resonates with your new frequency of a king in order to forge you a new crown. The illusion of the one opportunity. The fear of loss is anchored in another poisonous fallacy, the myth of the one-time opportunity. The ego firmly believes that there is a scarcity of miracles in the universe. You tell yourself, "This business was the chance of a lifetime. If I lose it, I will never be rich again." Or you say, "She was the only true love I will ever have. I let her go and I will die alone." That is the mentality of a peasant who finds a gold coin on the ground, loses it, and cries all his life because he believes it was the only coin that existed in the world. You are the owner of the gold mine. You are the machine that prints quantum bills. There is no single opportunity for a being that contains infinity within their chest. If you lose $1 million business, it is irrelevant. You have the mathematical formula in your brain to create 40 larger businesses before the decade ends. The universe abhors a vacuum. There is a natural law in traditional physics called horror vacui, the fear of the vacuum. Nature abhors empty spaces and always rushes to fill them immediately. This law applies with multiplied violence in the quantum field. When a vacuum is created in your 3D life, the universe enters an emergency state to fill it. But the quality of what will fill that vacuum depends solely and exclusively on your electromagnetic frequency at the moment of loss. Your destiny is decided here. If, when you lose money, you fill with terror, cry and complain, the universe will fill that vacuum with more debt, more problems and more misery. But if when the vacuum occurs, you remain imperturbable, apply neutralization and hold your vibration of imperial wealth, the universe is forced to fill that space with abundance. Loss is not a tragedy. It is the deliberate creation of a tactical vacuum to force the universe to inject new matter. The fallacy of age and lost time. The ego will use time as its sharpest weapon to convince you of the loss. It will tell you, "I lost 10 years of my youth in that toxic marriage. I have lost time and I will never get it back." Or it will tell you, "I am 40 and I just went broke. I'm too old to start over." All that is linear trash. In the quantum realm, time is not a straight line that gets spent. Time is a navigable dimension. Every second you lived in hell was military tactical training. You didn't lose 10 years in a bad marriage. You invested 10 years in an intensive course on what you must never tolerate again. Infinite intelligence can compress time as it wishes. If you assume your crown today, the universe can materialize in 6 months the financial empire that would take a slave 40 years to build. The quantum field will return to you with compound interest every tear and every failure. Lost time does not exist. Time. The spiritual hoarder syndrome. The resistance to letting go of old matter turns you into a compulsive hoarder, and a hoarder blocks the flow of universal energy. It stagnates the water until it rots. There are people who have closets full of old clothes they haven't worn for years. Just in case they lose weight one day, that is fear's signature. That just in case is an order of scarcity. You're telling the universe, I do not trust my ability to buy new and luxurious clothes in the future, so I will keep these rags to survive. The sovereign cleans his closets. He throws away old clothes. He burns the letters from his ex-partners. The sovereign creates intentional vacuums in the physical world to force the electromagnetic field to replace matter with luxury items that match his new vibration. The death of the concept mine. The suffering of loss is completely eradicated when you remove a single word from your emotional vocabulary. The word mine. The sense of possession is the slave's chain. My money, my husband, my company, my house. Every time you put the label of private property on matter, you sign a contract of pain. You are not the owner of the river water. You simply bathe in it while it flows through your property. If you try to grab the water with clenched fists, it will escape through your fingers. Life must be lived with completely open hands. When money reaches your open hands, you enjoy it and bless it. And by keeping your hands open and relaxed, without grabbing anything in panic, you become a giant landing strip for abundance. Money and love always fly toward the hands that do not try to imprison them. Phantom pain and cellular memory. When you accept the illusion of loss intellectually, your biological body will still take time to adapt. You will experience what amputees call phantom pain. Although you already know you have lost nothing real, your brain will still look for the routine. You will look for the text from the person who is gone. You will feel a pang of panic remembering you no longer have that secure salary. That is just the chemical residue of cortisol leaving your bloodstream. It is detoxification. Do not confuse the phantom pain of cellular detox with spiritual failure. Let the body tremble. Let the reptilian brain cry. You remain immovable in the projection booth. You observe the physical pain as a passing annoyance, knowing that your cells are rewiring themselves to withstand the high tension of infinite wealth. The recycling of souls relationships. What about people? What happens when someone dies or when a friend abandons you forever? Are they also recyclable matter? The answer hurts, but it frees you. Remember that in your hologram, all people are avatars that reflect your own consciousness. The divine essence is immortal, but their role is temporary. When a relationship ends tragically, the actor simply finished their contract on your stage. Their function of showing you your wounds or lacks was completed with total success. Crying for years because an actor left the stage is a lack of respect for the director, yourself. The universe is already auditioning a new actor with a script 1,000 times superior to enter the scene. But if you keep the stage occupied with an emotional coffin, the new actor will have no way to enter. You block your own romantic sequel. Looting retained energy. Every time you cry over a loss from the past, you are sending your electromagnetic energy from the present moment backward in time. You are plugging your battery into a burnt-out appliance. You are financing a ghost. You are wasting the volts you need today to build your empire. It is time to execute an energetic looting. You have to go to your memories of loss and steal your energy back. Close your eyes and visualize that bankruptcy or that ex-partner that hurts you so much. Look at them in your mind and say, "The contract is over. I withdraw all the importance I gave you." Feel how an invisible cable disconnects from the past and plugs back into your chest. Inhale deeply and feel how the battery of your I am recharges to 100%. You have just recovered your quantum capital. The celebration of demolition. The true trial by fire that you have assimilated the illusion of loss is your immediate reaction to destruction. The advanced adept does not just tolerate loss, he celebrates it obscenely. When you find out you lost your job or a project went to trash, your reaction should not be panic. It should be an excited, perverse curiosity. You should rub your hands in silence. You should look at the sky and smile like a child about to open a giant gift. You should say, if the universe just destroyed this, the update coming must be colossal. That celebration breaks the matrix. The algorithm of the 3D world is programmed to send you more problems if you react with fear. When you react with joy to disaster, the algorithm collapses due to logical error. The field, hacked by your cold smile, proceeds to immediately materialize the victory that corresponds to your state, preparing the massive download. You have emptied yourself. You have thrown away the old clothes. You have burned the past contracts. You have recovered your energy from ghosts. You are no longer terrified of the blank spaces in your life. Winter has done its work. The pendulum's blade took the dry branches. You are a titanium trunk, planted in the center of the universe, surrounded by a fertile, silent and perfect vacuum. Your quantum RAM is at 0% usage. You have all the electromagnetic bandwidth available. You are ready to request the download of the heaviest, brightest and most massive file ever. But the universe will not download the file if you are not firmly anchored. The impact of massive manifestation, when it arrives suddenly, can make you lose your balance. If you do not have a heavy enough center of gravity, the tsunami of new wealth will tear you from the ground. Chapter 6. The Eye of the Hurricane. Your center of gravity and quantum stoicism. You have emptied the RAM of your life. You have recycled the old matter. You have lost your respect and fear for three-dimensional loss. You are a blank canvas. The tactical winter has cleansed you. You have endured the darkness without blinking. But quantum physics abhors a vacuum, and the universe is about to fill it with incalculable violence. The download of your new reality is not going to be a gentle breeze. When the electromagnetic field reorganizes matter to deliver an empire to you, it does so with the strength of a Category 5 hurricane. The problem for most students is not that they don't know how to manifest. The problem is when the miracle finally hits them. When the miracle finally crashes into them, it tears them from the ground and destroys them. Today you are going to learn to survive your own success. You are going to learn to survive the chaos of transition. We are going to build a center of gravity so massive that not even the end of the world can move you a single centimeter. The anatomy of the 3D hurricane. To master this phase, you have to understand how a hurricane works in nature. It is a vortex of mass destruction. Its winds rotate at more than 300 kilometers per hour. The hurricane uproots trees. It destroys concrete buildings. It lifts entire oceans and throws them onto cities. It is the most chaotic and brutal force on Earth. But the hurricane has an amazing geometric and physical secret. In the exact center of that rotating beast, there exists a circular space known as the Eye of the Hurricane. If you manage to cross the wall of destructive winds and stand in the eye, you will experience a surreal phenomenon. There is no wind there, no rain. Atmospheric pressure drops to a minimum. If you look up from the eye, you will see a clear blue sky. The sun shines perfectly, while for 50 kilometers around the world is torn apart. In the center, there is absolute peace. The outside world is the wind wall. Your three-dimensional reality is exactly that hurricane. The financial market, relationship problems, global crises, and the opinions of others are the winds spinning at 300 per hour. The slave lives in the wind wall. The slave is dragged by the news, by debts and by family drama. They spin out of control, hitting debris. He tries to stop the wind with his hands. He cries while the storm tears the roof off his house. He clings to the rotten trees of his old beliefs, but the wind takes them anyway. The sovereign creator never lives in the wind wall. The creator knows that fighting against three-dimensional matter is suicide. His only mission is the center. Your I Am consciousness is the eye of the hurricane. It is the only place in the entire universe where stillness exists. When you anchor your identity in that center, external chaos becomes irrelevant. Quantum Stoicism. Ancient philosophers spoke of Stoicism. They taught you to endure pain with dignity, to not complain when life hit you, to remain calm in the face of adversity. But traditional Stoicism is incomplete. The ancient Stoic endured pain because he believed the outside world was real and he was small. He resisted through pure willpower. We do not practice that. We practice Quantum Stoicism. We do not stoically endure pain. We simply stop believing in the solidity of the object that is hitting us. If you are in a cinema and a roaring monster appears on the screen, you don't need to endure fear. You simply remember it is a hologram of light projected on a cloth. Quantum Stoicism is the ability to watch your bank account drop or your company falter and not feel the need to be strong. You simply disconnect from the screen. The illusion of urgency. The primary weapon the hurricane uses to pull you out of the eye and drag you into the wind wall is the illusion of urgency. The Matrix is a machine for generating false emergencies. An email arrives in red letters. A client threatens to leave. Your partner demands an immediate response to an absurd argument. The bank calls about a debt. The 3D world screams in your face, "Act now, react now. If you don't do something this precise second, you're going to lose everything." That urgency is an electromagnetic trap. Urgency is the vibrational frequency of the slave. Beggars are in a hurry. Servants run through the halls to fulfill orders. The king never runs. He walks slow. When the Matrix demands an immediate response, your sacred duty is to stop completely. Do not answer the email. Do not shout back at your partner. Close the phone and breathe. The sovereign's pause. By introducing a deliberate pause between the world's stimulus and your reaction, you break the neck of the illusion. You prove to the universe that you control three-dimensional time. That 5-minute pause before responding to a crisis is your triumphal entry into the eye of the hurricane. In those minutes you remember the truth. In those 5 minutes you remember that everything is a projection of your own mind. You tell yourself, this supposed emergency is only a fluctuation in my hologram. If I maintain my center of gravity, the hologram will have to resolve itself in my favor. And 99% of the time, if you do not react with urgency, the crisis deflates. The client who threatened to leave calms down and apologizes. The problem evaporates for lack of your energy. By denying your hasty reaction, you deny the chaos the gasoline it needs to burn. The chaos starves in front of your castle gate simply because you refuse to open it quickly. The lethal danger of extreme success. Surviving tragedy and chaos is difficult. It requires discipline of steel. But there is something much more dangerous than financial bankruptcy or abandonment. There is something that destroys more creators than poverty itself. That danger is extreme success. When spring explodes and the universe downloads millions of dollars at once, when popularity and the love of your life arrive suddenly, your ego suffers a collapse of euphoria. You get drunk on the 3D world. You believe you are invincible because the numbers on your screen grew. You start to worship your cars, your houses, and the validation of people who previously ignored you. You have just committed the original sin of the Creator. You have just stepped out of the eye of the hurricane and voluntarily jumped into the wind wall. You have tied your center of gravity to matter. If your peace and identity depend on the success you just achieved, you are a luxury hostage. You are handcuffed to your millions. The rejection of applause. To maintain your center of gravity, you have to train yourself to reject praise with the same coldness with which you reject criticism. Both are optical illusions of the same hologram. If you publish a success and thousands of people applaud you, calling you a genius or master, Do not drink that sweet poison. If you buy their applause today, you will be forced to buy their insults tomorrow. The sovereign hears the applause, nods his head, and continues on his way without altering his heart rate. He does not need a horde of blind avatars to confirm his own divinity. He knows the applause is not real. He knows that people who idolize him are only echoes of his own elevated self-concept. Worshipping applause is worshipping your own shadow projected on the wall. Staying in the eye means your emotional state is a flat EKG, a straight line, boring, monstrously stable. Millions don't alter you and bankruptcy doesn't scare you. The flat EKG of peace. Your ego is not going to like this. Your ego wants adrenaline peaks. It wants to jump for joy and it wants to cry with sadness. It believes that roller coaster is the definition of being alive. You have been brainwashed by movies and romantic songs that tell you love must be a frantic madness and success an explosion of tears. What a useless waste. True quantum mastery is boring to the external spectator. When you receive a transfer of $100,000, your reaction should be the same as if you poured yourself a glass of water. Absolute normalcy. Why would you jump for joy for something you already knew belonged to you from the start? To jump with euphoria is to admit that money is a scarce miracle and alien to you. When you normalize extreme greatness, the universe is forced to deliver it to you every day. Wealth becomes your natural ecosystem, as boring and predictable as the sunrise. Physical and biological anchoring. Your biological body is an animal that responds to chemicals. Sometimes the pressure of the hurricane will be so strong that your logical mind will lose traction. You will feel panic rising in your throat. This is where you must use your physical body as an anchor to force your quantum mind back to the center. You have to hack your own vagus nerve and your parasympathetic nervous system. When anxiety attacks, drop your shoulders. Tension accumulates in the neck and traps. Relax your jaw. The slave clenches his teeth when he is afraid. The sovereign has a relaxed mouth. Change your breathing pattern immediately. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. Repeat this 10 times with your eyes open, staring fixedly at a dead point. You are using biological hardware to force a reset of the quantum software. You are sending a physical signal to your reptilian brain. We cannot be in danger. The discharge of secondary identities. The hurricane destabilizes you because you have too many secondary identities anchored in the 3D world. You define yourself as father, son, entrepreneur, wife, or professional. Each of those identities is a kite tied to your body, flying in the wind wall of the matrix. Each hit to the kite pulls your center. If your primary identity is successful entrepreneur, when the market falls, you fall with it. If your primary identity is devoted mother, when your children leave home, your world will collapse. To live in the eye, you have to cut the strings of all the kites. You have to discharge all secondary identities. You must reduce them to simple temporary roles you play for fun. You can only have one non-negotiable identity. Only one title can govern your psyche. I am the creative consciousness. Everything else is cheap theater props that you can take off at the end of the day. The immovable monolith. When you reduce your identity to pure and formless I am, you become an obsidian monolith in the middle of the ocean. Waves can crash against you with all their three-dimensional fury. Foam can cover you. Water can try to drag you. But you weigh 1,000,000 cosmic tons. You have no handles for fear to grab onto. You have no cracks where doubt can enter. The people around you will feel this gravity. They will enter your office or your house hysterical about a problem. They will come screaming that the world is ending. And upon hitting your aura of calm, they will be extinguished instantly. Your peace will be like a black hole. Your peace will be so dense it will act as a black hole, absorbing their 3D hysteria and crushing it into nothingness. You will become the emotional regulator of your entire environment. The test of the phantom insult. The Matrix which is an intelligent system designed to keep you asleep, will send agents provocateurs to test the solidity of your center of gravity. It will want to verify if your peace is real or feigned. It will send you a phantom insult. Someone on social media will attack you without mercy. A relative will comment. They will make a poisonous comment about your life or beliefs. A stranger will offend you in city traffic. The immature ego will immediately jump to defend itself. It will feel its honor has been stained. It will bare its claws and try to wound the provocateur with crueler words. It will have left the eye of the hurricane. The adept anchored in his center receives the phantom insult and passes through it as if it were air. He observes the offense arriving, passing through the middle of his chest without touching any vital organ and getting lost in the void behind him. There is no defense because there is nothing to defend. What are you going to defend? Are you going to defend the illusion of your temporary ego against another temporary ego? That is a fight of shadows in a dark cave. The sovereign knows that whoever insults is only spitting at the sky, and the saliva will fall on their own face. You simply step aside and keep drinking. The art of observing destruction. There will be moments in your evolution where chaos will not be an attack on you, but the necessary demolition of an old structure. Your partner will leave you. Your partner will rob you. Or you will lose a legal trial unjustly. Your job in the eye is not to try to rebuild the wall while the wind is knocking it down. Your job is to sit in the chair, open your eyes and observe the spectacle of destruction with fascination. You have to reach a point of detachment so sick and sacred that you can watch your own financial or romantic house burn and say, "How wonderful! The quantum field is doing a deep cleaning." You know they are not burning your real house. They are burning the old scenery so they can install the solid gold stage you ordered 6 months ago. Fire is your friend. You observe your partner's betrayal and do not hate them. You say, "Excellent. The universe just took this parasite out of my company, thank you." Absolute loyalty to the invisible vision. Maintaining the center of gravity demands a psychopathic loyalty to your invisible vision over visible evidence. It is a total betrayal of the world of the physical senses. If your eyes see poverty, but your imagination holds wealth, whom are you going to believe? The slave believes his eyes, he trusts dead matter. The sovereign believes his imagination because he knows the cause. You become a fanatic of your own assumption. You are unshakable. They can show you red bank statements, they can show you divorce papers, and your internal response does not waver. Those papers are just dead trees stained with ink. My reality is sealed. This three-dimensional delay is irrelevant to me. My empire is already an accomplished fact. This violent loyalty to the invisible generates an unbearable atomic friction in the matrix. The physical world cannot tolerate a creator who refuses to obey its optical illusions of scarcity. The collapse of the hurricane, and then the cosmic outcome occurs. When you stay motionless in the eye of the hurricane, when you refuse to react, to run, or to despair, you cut the energy supply to the storm. The hurricane feeds on the heat of your fear and the humidity of your anguish. By cutting those sources, the storm loses force. The winds of 300 kilometers per hour reduce. The crisis that seemed like it was going to destroy your entire life deflates in a matter of days. Legal problems resolve magically. Money appears from illogical and forgotten sources. The wind wall collapses completely and dissipates into nothingness. You open the door of your castle and realize the outside world has pacified and aligned itself millimetrically with the peace you held inside. Chaos served you obediently. It swept away the old, scared away the weak, and washed the streets of your reality so you could walk on clean asphalt. You have tamed the storm. Preparation for the offensive. You have survived the passive phase of the law of rhythm. You have neutralized the fall of the pendulum. You have emptied the ram in the dark winter, and you have anchored your center of gravity in the eye of the hurricane. You are officially invulnerable. You have built a titanium bunker the Matrix cannot penetrate. But staying in the bunker forever is not the destiny of a sovereign creator. The bunker is for surviving. The throne is for reigning. The chaos that just passed not only left the ground clean, it also released a grotesque, wild, and pure amount of electromagnetic energy in your environment, energy without an owner. That raw energy, born of destruction, is the most potent fuel in the universe. And it is available to the first one who has the ovaries or the balls to step out of the bunker and claim it. Chapter 7: Surfing the Tsunami. Using disaster's momentum and the transmutation of adrenaline. You have survived the passive phase of destruction. You remained anchored in the eye of the hurricane. You did not blink when the three-dimensional world crumbled around you. You applied tactical indifference. You managed to make the pendulum's blade pass beneath your feet. You are the absolute owner of your emotional center of gravity. But stillness has a tactical limit. Staying in the bunker forever is the strategy of a survivor, not a sovereign creator. The bunker is to protect you from the initial impact. The throne is to reign over the rubble. When a disaster strikes your life, it does not only destroy old structures, it releases a monstrous amount of energy. A disaster of epic proportions releases a monstrous amount of kinetic and electromagnetic energy into your hologram. Financial bankruptcy, divorce, public scandal, or betrayal. All these events generate a tsunami of brute force. 99% of humanity drowns under that massive wave, but the high-level adept does not drown. The adept takes their board, rows directly toward the 30-meter wall of water, stands up and uses the destructive force of the wave to travel at the speed of sound. The physics of chaos and neutral energy. To surf a tsunami, you first have to stop demonizing the water. You have to understand a basic law of quantum thermodynamics. Energy is absolutely neutral. Energy has no morality. It is neither good nor bad. A nuclear bomb destroys an entire city, turning it to ash. But a reactor uses that same reaction to give light to millions. The difference between the bomb and the reactor is not the atomic energy. It is the container. It is the direction and intention that the architect gives to that colossal force. When the pendulum hits your life, it releases energy in the form of chaos. The 3D slave receives that energy without a mental container. They overflow. They panic. They become a bomb that destroys their own health and future. The sovereign creator is a human nuclear reactor. They receive the impact of the disaster, absorb the radiation of chaos in their chest, and consciously redirect it to ignite the turbines of their next empire. Hacking biological adrenaline. When the tsunami crashes into your life, your biological body reacts. Your adrenal gland pumps liters of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. Your pupils dilate. Your heart beats at 1,000 miles per hour. Traditional psychiatry will tell you that you are having an anxiety attack. It will tell you to breathe in a paper bag. The system will tell you to take pills and seek to calm down. That is the response of a system designed to keep you docile. Hermetic alchemy teaches you a disturbing secret. Fear and extreme emotion are exactly the same physiological response. The body does not know the difference between the terror of falling and winning the lottery. Both experiences generate the same chemical cocktail. The only difference lies in the mental label your consciousness puts on that biological sensation. You decide how to interpret the racing heartbeat. When the crisis breaks and you feel your chest will explode from adrenaline, I forbid you to call it anxiety. You are going to close your eyes and rename that sensation. You are going to say out loud, I am deeply excited, transmuting poison into gasoline. You are going to tell your brain, this tachycardia is not fear of bankruptcy. This tachycardia is the wild excitement of knowing I am about to build a monopoly from scratch. It is the anticipation of the miracle. This is the most violent act of transmutation you can execute. You are taking the poison of fear and converting it. You are converting fear into high-octane gasoline for your manifestation engine. By changing the label on the emotion, the electromagnetic voltage of your auric field skyrockets. You are no longer vibrating in the contraction of the terrified victim. You are vibrating in the aggressive expansion of the predator, scenting an opportunity. Adrenaline takes away your sleep. Perfect. The sovereign does not use the insomnia of crisis to toss in bed crying. He uses those burning early hours to plan his financial revenge and quantum resurrection. The pain of a romantic betrayal takes away your hunger. Magnificent. Use that forced fast to purify your body. Use it to sculpt your physical avatar in the gym and raise your level of attractiveness to that of an unreachable deity. You are using the momentum of disaster. You are using the inertia of the fall to propel yourself. It is metaphysical judo. You use the crushing weight of the matrix against itself. The slingshot effect. There is a law in projectile physics that perfectly illustrates the mechanism of a crisis in a creator's life. It is the slingshot effect. For a stone to be launched with lethal speed toward its target, it first has to be pulled violently backward. The rubber of the slingshot has to stretch in the opposite direction of the goal. The further back you pull the rubber, the greater the tension that accumulates, the greater the potential energy, and by mathematical consequence, the more devastating and distant the impact will be when you finally release the stone. The life of the slave is a stone on the ground. Nobody pulls it back, but it flies nowhere. He lives in a boring, predictable, and mediocre security until the day he dies. Your crisis, your bankruptcy, your humiliating divorce, it is the hand of the infinite intelligence pulling you back with brutal force. You are being stretched into the darkness. The tension is painful. It seems like you are going backward. But the sovereign, in the midst of the pain of stretching, smiles. He knows he is not going backward. He knows he is accumulating massive potential energy. He knows he is the stone in the slingshot of God. And when the universe releases the rubber, the sovereign will be launched like an intercontinental ballistic missile. He will surpass in 6 months the people who have been walking in a straight line for 10 years. The illusion of starting from scratch. The greatest mental obstacle to surfing the tsunami is the loser's phrase, "I lost everything, I have to start from zero." Erase that linguistic aberration from your vocabulary forever. You never start from zero. The person who built the first $1 million company was an ignorant person who had to learn from blows. The one who rebuilds the second company after bankruptcy is a war veteran with scars. You lost the bricks, yes, you lost the furniture and the bank accounts, but you did not lose your brain's software. You did not lose the killer instinct for business. You did not lose the charisma you forged. You start again, but not from zero. You start from experience. You start from a level of maturity that money cannot buy. You have the building's blueprints tattooed on your mind. That is why the billionaire who goes broke recovers his fortune in a year. Because his self-concept remains that of a billionaire. Money is only a delayed echo that has to run to catch up with the mind. Chaos as a tactical smokescreen. There is an immense military advantage in chaos that the weak never manage to see. When the tsunami hits your life, it kicks up a colossal amount of dust, debris, and confusion in your environment. People pity you. They look at you with compassion. They think you are finished. The competition gives you up for dead. Your enemies celebrate your fall and lower their guard. You become invisible to the Matrix's radar. This is the best tactical position a creator can have. Chaos provides you with a perfect smokescreen. While everyone believes you are crying in your bed, you are in the war room sharpening the knives. You can rebuild your self-concept without the pressure of the public eye. You can make mistakes, try new strategies, and forge a completely new empire in the shadows. And when the smoke finally clears, you won't come out crawling to ask for forgiveness. You will come out mounted on an armored tank. You will emerge with a version of yourself so elevated and dangerous that your former competitors will tremble with terror. Buying in blood, the secret of the oligarchs. This principle of surfing the tsunami applies literally to the financial world. The true owners of money do not fear recessions or economic collapses. They manufacture them or look forward to them. There is an old adage on Wall Street: buy when there is blood in the streets, even if the blood is your own. That is the cold and psychopathic mentality of the three-dimensional sovereign. When the market panics and everyone sells